Call the meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, are there any changes to the agenda?
I do have one change to the agenda to delete item number 9C. I was hoping to have that completed to present by the meeting, and I didn't get it done, so
Okay,
9C we can scratch.
okay. All right, anyone want to make a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of 9C?
So moved.
All right, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, public comment. I don't see anyone online, right? Okay. Announcements. Okay. And then approval of the minutes. Consider approval of the December 17th, 2024 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve. I didn't see anything that needed to be changed.
I didn't see anything when I read it either. Good? Okay. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Public hearing. Consider draft ordinance 321 amending Title 11, Chapter 5, H of City Code concerning fences.
Okay. So this all started back in October at the Parks Commission meeting. Staff introduced a request to incorporate these enclosures, pictured here, around all the portable toilets located in city parks. While determining possible locations for these new enclosures, staff did further research, and these enclosures would be considered a fence under our city zoning ordinance. Although exempt from requiring a permit, they still need to meet requirements listed in city code. Such as it shall not exceed 8 feet in height, and fences for special purposes, which this would be considered, may be permitted in any district only by issuance of conditional use permit. So if we wanted to do these, it would require a conditional use permit each and every time we wanted to build one. The Parks Commission meeting, staff recommended that a zoning ordinance amendment would be a better approach to deal with the issue, as opposed to dealing conditional use permits. At the November Planning Commission meeting, it was introduced, and the Planning Commission was also in favor of an ordinance amendment allowing an exception for these portable restroom enclosures to be built on city-owned property for the purposes of screening portable toilets or restrooms. The Planning Commission directed staff to go back and draft an ordinance amendment, so that's what we're doing here tonight with a public hearing. Since it is a part of the zoning ordinance, it does require a public hearing as part of the Minnesota state law. If the Planning Commission recommends adoption of the draft ordinance, staff will prepare the item for final consideration by the City Council. Here's that draft ordinance amendment in its entirety, basically just creating that exception listed under there for A.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I will open the public hearing at 7:06 p.m. Anyone have comments related to this?
I don't think so.
Do I have to ask 3 times? Okay. As no one is in attendance from the city, I will close the public hearing at 7:06 p.m. All right, our thoughts, questions, are we okay with making this recommendation?
I'm okay with making a recommendation to council.
Me as well. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Miscellaneous. A, 2024 Planning Commission report and accomplishments.
Sorry.
Sorry.
General business. There's one item.
Sorry. General business. My bad. General business, discuss and adopt Planning Commission goals and priorities for 2025.
Just to kind of review the goals that you formally adopted in 2024 were continued review of the comprehensive plan, and both Jake and Brandon have presented high-level overviews of various chapters as time has allowed. We've just continued incremental review and simplification of our zoning and subdivision ordinance. We did not get to the residential lot size requirement item, which was a high priority. And we did review and implement zoning changes for the new cannabis law that were required. We maybe are coming back for an amendment already, but Brendan can explain that more. Completion of zoning ordinance amendments for shipping containers and detached accessory structures. We adopted continued review of tools that foster housing affordability and diversity. Didn't really do anything specific along that lines. Last year, provide internal education manuals for planning commission. We have some of those prepared that, just reviewing what a variance is, what a conditional use permit is, things like that. We have some of that prepared but haven't presented yet. And then providing identifying continuing education opportunities for the planning commission. Is something that didn't exactly get to last year either. Oops. And then for 2025, we really should adopt some goals and present those to the city council. I have a couple things here. Just continued review of the comprehensive plan, continued review of the zoning and subdivision ordinances. Again, adding that minimum lot, researching our minimum lot size requirements based on industry standards and Met Council requirements. I have strongly believed that our minimum lot size requirements are too large. Review of our tower and antenna ordinance. We have the city attorney currently looking at our ordinance to see if any changes need to be made. We're currently looking at our sexually oriented use ordinance. Want to make sure we're in compliance with state law as it pertains to sexually oriented uses. The last time we reviewed that was in 2019. And then just as we continue to annex property into the city, we want to make sure that we're continuing to meet state law. And continued, if you guys have anything regarding affordable housing, like specifically things that you would like us, to research, please bring them up. And then just continuing education, research both internally and externally. One thing that I forgot that I thought of after this was released is researching short-term rental ordinance for like Airbnbs and things like that. A lot of communities have those in place, and we haven't ever, looked into that.
Something I have it's in my to-do list for sure.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a problem right now. I'm not aware that we have any in our community until one pops up next door to you, or, we don't have any, a lot of things that would draw people to town currently, but you never know. Something could pop up. Do you guys have anything else that you would like to add?
In regards to like the affordable housing, and I don't know if this is actually a thing or not, like, can we look at like, I know we want to talk about the lot sizes, but can we look at like the ratio of like the size of the house to the lot size?
Yeah, a lot of communities have, a lot of communities have an impervious surface maximum impervious surface requirement that we don't have currently.
So right now you can make your house as big as you can as long as it meets setbacks.
Yeah.
So are you
Right.
saying you want it smaller or bigger?
Well, I think of affordable housing, I don't think of like 3 or 4 story houses.
Mhm.
And if we're trying to focus on affordable housing, and we're helping create developments and things, like, and the builder wants to build these large homes on these small lots, I get it. But if we want to draw more people that can actually afford the homes,
Sure.
how does that, is that a thing? Is that a possibility? I don't know.
I haven't seen that. I don't know if that is legal.
Sure.
We'd have to review with the city attorney. I think, maybe with the setbacks, maybe that's all we can do. I definitely would have to review that with the city attorney.
I'm just curious, because I think, you know, people think of affordable housing as like maybe, I don't know, apartments or townhouses or things like that.
Or a small house.
Yeah, and that's what I'm kind of thinking. But I don't,
Like a tiny house?
Don't we,
not like a tiny house, but an average, like,
I hear what you're saying.
Do you-
Square footage has gone up.
Do we have anything in our ordinance now that allows by right, like 2 or 3 units on a lot? Or does it truly have to be a single-family home then on one lot? So 1 unit per lot?
Yes, in our single-family residential zones, we don't allow duplexes.
Okay.
Some communities do. I have seen that, I'm shocked if he does. And that was in the state legislature last year for as
Right.
by right, you could, that would be mandated. But it didn't get through the legislature.
Right, but do you think there's enough appetite from constituents and from developers to maybe look at that? Or do you think maybe we should just let the state take the lead on something like that? I don't know where staff's time would be best utilized in something like this, especially with the next few years looming in front of us. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so many of the things that were getting introduced last year was just kind of throwing zoning, a lot of what we've done for years out the window.
Right.
Kind of removing regulations.
Right. Because I don't want to waste staff's time. I mean,
Well, I think that's what we're here for.
Right.
I think that's our job is to, if that's something that you're interested in having us research, that's our job.
yeah,
You know, one of the affordable housing things I've always had in the back of my mind, haven't really spent any time on it, is, we require in all single-family residential zones that we plan for a 3-car garage. And even if they don't build, they have to build the 2-car immediately, but they have to leave space on the lot for a 3-car. So is that appropriate? And we don't, in our townhouse developments, we saw a concept plan for single stall garages, and our code doesn't allow that. The only way they could do that is through a PUD. So is that something,
I would be supportive of something like that. Yeah.
or garage units tied to bedroom units or something like that? Or number of bedrooms?
so don't we have affordable housing in Christmas Pines?
That was done through special zoning. Yeah, I don't, well,
I guess what's wrong with the house size of those? I mean, I already think they're pretty small,
well, they're pretty,
They're big.
the
pretty
lots are,
compact.
they're kind of big, actually. The lots are really tiny. They're
Right.
only 40 feet wide. That was really extreme, as far as lot sizes there.
I mean, are they selling?
Slightly. There was like 3 permits last year pulled for Christmas Pine.
Are they full?
They
Because I
haven't
know
been-
they've had a hard time selling the model home.
They're not full, no.
Okay.
But there are extenuating circumstances there with HOAs and other, I would say, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think that it's a 40-foot lot, but they're building like 35-foot
Yeah, it's-
homes. Like they're
right.
filling that whole lot with a house. But I hear what you're saying.
Well, I'm just, yeah, if they're not selling,
Right.
we want to push the limits with our setbacks. I mean, Elko New Market is not a town for small homes. People come out here to get away from congested areas in the metro.
I guess what I'm saying is like, the lot is like so big, and then the house is this big, like,
Hmm?
there's no space.
That's up to the
And
builders,
they're
I
on
guess.
top- And they're on top of one another, so,
I
to
mean,
me, that would be, excuse me, congested and not like
Well,
space.
I get what you're saying, but I think the biggest thing is that the builders are coming in and they want to get the most bang for their buck, and the best way they're going to do that is build up.
Well, I understand that.
So,
And that's
I
why I'm
mean-
asked if this is even a thing, because
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out like,
And maybe
what
you,
is reasonable?
maybe you accomplish what you're trying to do through setbacks, or what you're suggesting.
Right. So I think of like, I don't know, maybe this is because of my age, but like starter homes, like smaller houses, and then you slowly progress up and up.
Mhm.
And I don't feel like we have a lot of starter homes, or a lot of people aren't moving out of those starter homes.
Right, I was going to say new.
Because of the way things are, so how do we get people,
How How do you get
how do we
started homes?
attract more people to come here to be able to afford those?
I think we're gonna see that happen, is that the older, I'm not gonna call them, let's not call them older, but let's say anything built in the last 25 years, those are gonna end up becoming the starter homes because people are gonna start moving to Boulder Heights, any of the other these new additions that wanna stay in this town.
If they can afford it. the
Well, that's
thing.
when they're selling their houses and they can afford it.
Yeah, but what about those that are mortgage locked, though, which is a real thing, because, you know, as we're looking to our next stage of life, right? We've been in our home now for a little over 20 years, you know, and our oldest set of children have moved out, and so we have the one at home. It's getting harder to justify staying here with the one child, but we're literally stuck in our mortgage. There's no way we could afford what I want in this phase of life, you know.
And I guess that's where I'm coming from too. I'm mortgage locked as well. And so I see there's a concern. It's not just me, it's not just you, other people as well. So so I've been in my house for
Forever.
3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't afford one of those other houses. I don't know how people even
I know.
fathom to
Yes.
do it. And you know, I look at our incomes and I'm like, how the heck are people doing this?
Yeah,
This is not even feasible.
right.
So that's where my brain is going, like, how do we, is there a way or is there a possibility to explore a way to do that? Not that I wanna limit builders or, I get they're in the business to make money, but how do we grow as a town if we're
Right.
limiting?
Who can move in?
Right. Who can afford it?
Right.
And not just stuck to like an apartment or a townhouse.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
I
like
don't know,
that,
that's where my brain goes. And-
yeah.
And maybe I'm
like
thinking
any-
incorrectly, I don't
Any
know.
perceived entry-level housing we have, I mean, we have a few small homes in the old Newmarket, and they rarely turn over. And then your entry-level housing is a townhouse in our town. And it
Yeah,
seems
And
like
those aren't
there's,
cheap either.
No.
they're not.
So how do we get builders to build homes like our old Elko Newmarket?
It's not gonna happen.
No.
Never will happen. I mean,
So, I
you,
don't know, it's
what you
really
could do
conundrum.
is you could have a development that, you know, people like you guys could buy your lot and contract or build your own house. That's gonna, you know, that's probably the best way you're gonna do it. But if you're gonna have Lennar come in here, good luck trying to have them build you a 3-bedroom house.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think the market, we only have so much control here, right? And I
Right.
think the market will dictate,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
there are things we can do. We're not just sitting here with no options. Like, we were at a conference last week and I overheard people talking about like road width and like if you know, make that smaller or whatever, that saves money all the way down and stuff like that can trickle.
Mhm.
So there are ways we can be creative, but as someone in the market at my age looking for like an affordable home or a starter home, like, not to speak for my whole generation, but we're kind of effed, just overall. So like, maybe I'm just being a little bit pessimistic about it, but I don't know if it's so easy as how do we get those starter homes to be built again, because I don't know if that,
It's gonna be more
I
expensive.
guess that's what I'm thinking of, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
thinking of
You're never gonna get affordable
when I was in
new
your shoes, there
construction.
was lots of options and lots
So
of
you
things.
gotta
but-
incentivize people like
Us to move out.
to move out, cause that will be the new starter home.
Right.
yeah. And at least for me, I've accepted it is what it is. We're not gonna get the rates you guys got 20 years ago or the prices you got, you know, so
You'll get them,
the expectations just maybe.
you'll get the rates, just let
The rates
things,
will come down, yeah.
yeah,
but
you'll get the
But
rates.
The price point, maybe not.
But price point won't. I guess I just, yeah.
Totally.
I think
It's
the
a good
biggest,
conversation, yeah.
the biggest thing with real estate, sometimes you just gotta gamble.
Yeah.
Go with the flow of the market.
But yeah, I do agree with you that there are ways we can be creative within our ordinances to help incentivize
Okay.
more affordability, so.
I think that would be more attractive.
Yeah, I mean, more developers will come in, they can make more bang for their buck, obviously, right? So,
Question for you too, when you went to that, so Brennan and Jake and Tom went to a workshop on housing. And did you remember the number of units that were short in the Twin Cities? Housing units?
It didn't change much from last year, but it got worse.
It got a little worse.
Do you remember, was it like 100,000 or?
I can't
50,000
say
or I
without,
I think it was more than that.
It was six
Yeah.
digits for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
if I had to guess, I'd say 12,000, but that's just a total guess. I don't know if that's right or not.
I feel like it's,
I would guess like 200,000.
yeah, I think, for some reason, I think it was over 100,000. Yeah,
I don't know. It's very short. We're very short on houses. in
yeah.
Minnesota.
We would love to have, we would love Elko to be really creative with this and our zoning and stuff. And we want to support our city staff in doing this. And we don't want people to come here in angry mobs either, you know?
I would be mindful of it, obviously, but just explore what, maybe what we can do or what's in our purview.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So 106,000 in 2024, so I'm guessing yeah, it's 112,000 now, probably.
Okay.
And that's just in the Twin Cities.
Yeah,
That's not
that's just in
even,
the Twin Cities.
right, and we're in that weird rural space too, which we can't ignore either. So,
I think that weird rural space makes us more attractive to some people and less attractive to others, so.
Agreed. And it also makes us slightly more, it makes us more expensive.
it does.
Then like, I can go to Lonsdale and get, way cheaper.
Yeah, right.
It's farther.
If I want to, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I love the discussion and, talking about housing. And then we'll add short-term rentals to the list.
I think that's a great idea.
I agree.
So the short-term rentals would be like the Airbnbs?
Yeah. Yeah,
Do we have, like, we are not allowing any Airbnbs right now?
we don't regulate them, so somebody could move in next door to you and put the house up on an Airbnb.
Oh,
Or you could put your house on
well, I'm not gonna do that, but.
Well, another reason to do that too would be also to get the taxes generated from that as well, because we'd also have to create an ordinance, and then instead of that tax revenue going to the state, we would get it that as part of our chamber stuff, right? That was one of the biggest pushes down in Northfield for doing it, was
I
that
have no idea.
rather than having that taxes go to the state, then we would capture that too, and I would use that as an argument for Elko, because we are so small. You know,
Our city attorney's office, I'm sure, has dealt with implementing these ordinances all over, and, their Lakeville's attorney, I'm sure they have an ordinance in place, and they represent many cities in the metro, so. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on that? If anybody want to make a motion to adopt the goals and priorities for 2025?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, on to miscellaneous, a 2024 Planning Commission report and accomplishments.
Just included a memo in your packet that outlined all of the ordinance amendments that you considered in 2024 and land use applications. So, good work, a lot of work.
Just for clarification, what are the hours of operation for construction?
It was related to, contractors are only allowed to work during certain hours.
What are those hours?
I'd have to look it up.
It's weird now. It's
I
like,
don't remember.
it's like 9 to 7 or something.
It's 7 to 7,
Monday through Friday.
And then weekends, it's 9 to 7, and same with holidays is 9 to 7. That's what I had to find, because they were
Yeah.
not abiding.
I'm
I-
going to speak for somebody that I know.
Yeah.
They're very annoyed that they're starting at like 6:50 backing up vehicles with
Yeah.
beepers
Yep.
and loud construction at like, 6:45 on the
Yeah.
weekends and during the day.
Whenever that happens, just have them call the police right away.
For sure.
I
Okay.
But the actual vehicle may be exempted. Like, it's
I
the
mean-
power equipment, I think, that it kind of drills on. But if they are starting
Definitely,
early,
They are,
5 out a weekend, that's 2 hours early. anyway,
they're
so.
definitely
if it was on a weekend, yeah, for sure.
probably working late hours too.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Anytime you suspect anything outside of that, call the police, have them come down and talk to them.
It's the only way to do it. So people call us on Monday morning and say, oh, they was working over the weekend. You have to call it's the only way. Yeah.
A year ago, I had the exact same picture question now, but it seems like, why are we bothering the police for something so frivolous, but
Yeah.
it's the way, the police want you to, do it. They can't do anything, and they just hear complaints and they feel like helpless, so
Mhm.
it seems silly to me. but
Yeah,
it's the
you
way
just
it is.
call and say, this is a non-emergency. I need a. Yeah. They will. If they have a priority, they'll go to the other one first, obviously. But yeah, if you want us to email you those hours of operation, we can certainly do that. Or
Sure, I'll forward them on to the other person.
Okay. They were restricted during this year, and it was really initiated by construction at the Niagara site. So, but that is something, there was some, and it was also contained in 2 separate sections of the code, and there was a little bit of a conflict, so we simplified it in one section. Okay, and then there was just kind of a building permit review. There's been a standard template for several years, and I just kind of plugged the new numbers in. Overall, our permit numbers from 2024 were very similar to 2023. We were up a bit on the single-family detached units. Last year we had 23, and this year we had 39 in 2024. Permits overall, you can see this building permits total. This 2019, we had a big hailstorm go through, so most of those were like re-roof and re-side, so that's why there's a spike there. 2021 was just kind of one of our bigger years in recent history. We had more detached single-family that year as well, but last 2 years, pretty similar. Our single-family homes, again, you can see that spike in 2021. And then by development, we just mapped them by development, and most of them were down in Boulder Heights, Pete's Hill, and Ridgeview. I guess we've issued a fair number in Ridgeview now, 7. These are the different builders that were in town last year. Lennar, who started pulling permits, I think, in late September, has pulled 18 housing units, so they just build. Overall housing starts. And then we do this exercise where we call around to all the area cities and see how many housing units that they pulled. So these are just single-family, attached and detached. Does not include any apartment units, but it's kind of starting at Lakeville, and Lakeville was number 1. I think Shakopee number 2. I think Farmington was number 3. But
This average seems really low.
yeah, they just are kind of built out.
Yeah, Northfield seems kind of low. I'm gonna double check those numbers.
Yeah, yeah. But, yeah, that's what we got from the cities, so. Increase in activity in single-family home permits, with the city seeing effects of National Home Builder entering the community. We had 18 housing units within a 3-month period of time. The city expects an increase in permit activity for 2025, given the level of interest from multiple national builders. Permit was issued for Niagara. Construction value is $40 million on that building. And that's all I have on that. If you have any questions.
No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, miscellaneous B, 2024 building permit summary.
Yeah, that was the summary.
Okay, and then we skip
The
C,
vacant lot inventory.
and then the community development updates.
Jake has included a little memo about the 2040 comprehensive plan?
Yep. So we're going to be starting the process of updating our 2040 comp plan, turning it into our 2050 comp plan. We're waiting for final guidance from the Met Council before we really start that process, but just wanted to give you guys a heads up that it's going to be a long process over the course of years, and it's going to pretty much occupy most of our department's time. So there's going to be some smaller projects and other stuff that we're going to just have to put on the back burner while we work through this.
Yeah, so the Metropolitan Council, the council, is scheduled to adopt their policy plan statements, or their policy plans in the areas of parks, transportation, land use, sewer, and water, and they are scheduled to adopt those policies, I think, in February or March. And then their staff kind of drills it down and creates guidance documents for cities on what our plans need to contain at a minimum to comply with the Met Council policies. And they are hoping to release those to cities by October 2025. So we'll be able to start working sometime after that. We were thinking, I mean, usually one of the first things you do is, public engagement and surveys of the community and stuff like that. So I think we had some good survey questions last time in our comp plan. We might consider reusing those. Hoping to do a little more public engagement and just getting out to public events in the community. We didn't do a lot of that last time. City didn't have a staff planner for the majority of it. And then we're also hoping maybe to spread some of the financial impact, because we'll have to hire consultants to help, or Bolton and Mink in particular, to help us through some parts of the process. If we can spread the costs over some multiple years, that might help as well. So.
Thank you. Then city growth overview?
Yeah. So I don't know if any of you found or saw the city newsletter, but I just pulled out these pages from the city newsletter that highlighted just overall growth in the city again in 2025, residential developments that had been approved or even reviewed by the city. Highlands at Eagle View, Parkway Meadows, True North Development, that's Dakota Acres, Alliant Ventures, that was down on the southwest part of the city that kind of went away, Old Town Apartments, the Preserve. So anyway, when you look at it in the list or on the map, you can see there's kind of a lot going on. So we don't need to talk about every one of those. I'm sure you saw them in the city newsletter as well, but just a good overview. And then the Scott County CDA provided a year in review, and these are kind of wins for all of the cities in Scott County. And I'm just included that for your review. Again, I'm not going to go through them, but all the, I can't remember how many cities, 8 cities, 10 townships are included there.
All right, thank you. And then planning commission questions and comments. I don't have anything additional.
Okay,
I'm sure Niagara is probably close to starting up.
they are. We were with them most of the afternoon today, meeting. They will be starting they've been given temporary certificate of occupancy on the entire building. They had a job fair over the last several days. I think they filled 17 positions, which is all that they were trying to fill at this time. Comments we received from the leadership was that it was not as well as attended as some of their other job fairs, but the quality of the people were better than at other job fairs. So they were really happy with the results. They felt it was successful. They'll be starting to do testing and flushing of their lines and their filters and stuff in mid-October to early March. So their goal is to have what they call the first shippable pallet, which would be product ready to ship by March 28th. Not that they will necessarily be shipping them by that time, but they will be ready. to ship by that time. What's that? Their other testing, mid-February. Outside of Niagara, we have this preliminary plat that you worked on north of City Hall at the east end of James Parkway. We expect to see a final plat application for that the first week in February. That doesn't come back to you, it just goes straight to City Council. They're hoping to have that to the City Council in March sometime for final plat. So we might see that built out this summer. We expect to get that Highlands at Eagle View that you reviewed out by the elementary school. Expect that to be coming back with a formal application sometime maybe April, May-ish.
Okay.
And then we are kicking off a little transportation study on the south of Boulder Heights. The developers of Boulder Heights have a contract to put on the next 30 acres to the south that goes all the way up to the county line, our County Road 86. And we're have some larger just transportation issues about Beard Avenue and how the area in general should connect to County Road 86.
Okay.
So they got some pretty good movement up there right now, don't they?
What's that?
They got some pretty good movement up in that area right now. They got a lot of construction vehicles.
On that
That
30
new-
acres?
That 30 acres, yeah.
Okay, well, it's not in the city limits yet, so we'd have to go through an annexation process.
Okay.
And usually at that time, during that annexation, if, for instance, if we want to have Beard Avenue paved by the developer or through negotiations with the township, we try to negotiate those big things before the annexation.
Okay.
So-
Opening up that one through street to Beard Avenue.
Yeah, so I expressed, we had a kickoff meeting today with, and we invited partners from Rice County, Scott County, Newmarket Township, Webster Township, just get everybody in the same room and agree on our transportation plans, like aligning and being on the same page. And I think I expressed, have no support for that development without another connection into Boulder Heights. It's just, can't happen. Do you guys have anything? We're not update on cannabis at all? Or?
I can just give you a short explanation, but you'll hear what I'm bringing back, but essentially, we have all the cultivation stuff set up for a conditional use permit is required, but there becomes an issue where we have to respond to the state within 30 days, and we can't get a conditional use permit done in 30 days. So, trying to avoid that. That's essentially it.
Okay.
And then also, I guess, since I'm already talking, we're working on the old police department building still. We haven't had a meeting in a couple months, but we have one next week. Looking forward to hearing from people and getting that process keep moving along. Because I'm not sure how aware you guys are, but we have an old police department building in Old Elko that we're deciding what to do with, essentially.
Okay.
So, that should be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have anything?
Jake? Okay.
All right. Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
All right. Anyone want a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Meeting adjourned, 7:42 PM.